We have John from Canada. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Hi, how
thank you
are
for
you?
calling us.
Yeah. So I just want to say that women are God's gift to men.
Okay, I
Are
think
men?
women are people, and I want
Mm.
to know what you mean by the word gift.
Well,
I usually think of gifts as
there
being
are
objects.
they're not objects; they're people. But God gave them to us to take care of, to protect, and they give us babies.
Yeah, doesn't really sound like you're describing the actions of a person with autonomy and the ability to make choices. Like, it feels very transactional the way that you describe it. Armin, which direction would you like to take this?
I don't know. I was wondering if it works the other way around. Are men God's gift to women?
Well, we belong with each other, but they're more.
Oh, wow.
They're more our gift they're our gift to us.
So it kind of sounds like you're trying to say, yeah.
I gave him a softball to try to make him sound like not a misogynist, but he resisted the other accepting that.
It was right there,
well.
yeah, right there for the taking, and you passed it up.
Yeah, he passed it up. Go on, Christy.
Well, John, yeah, it just very much sounds like you're presenting that men and women are equal, except for the fact that women are less than. Like, it's sort of this like A and B or 1 and 2, but with an asterisk. Like, it just doesn't come across, I think, maybe the way that you intend for it to. And I think that that's something that is really easy to lose in our culture. Frankly, particularly the aspects of our culture that are deeply wrapped up in Christianity, because there is so much misogyny, there is so much problematic language in the Bible that discusses women as being gifts, as being objects. And I really want to challenge you on, first of all, the notion that there is a God, that there is a God who gives gifts, and that women are anything other than equal people, full stop. I mean, can you rectify with some of those ideas?
Well, the women are to take care of, because to take care of. Men need women, women need men. I don't know why you're disputing that.
Because I don't need a woman. I'm a fully functional human person. I do have emotional needs. I have a desire for intimacy, for sexual expression, and for all of these kinds of things. And so, to kind of not get too long-winded,
make no mistake, gentlemen. Every man needs a woman. Without a woman, a man is nothing. A woman needs a man to hold his hand, tell him what to do, make him feel important. This idea that men and women don't need each other is ridiculous. It's destroying society.
I'm very sorry that you feel that way, but there are plenty of people who are living happily ever after with same-sex partners, with no partners, with multiple partners, and there's no evidence to suggest any reason in the world why those people need to change or why their happiness isn't real. We're getting into some kind of ridiculous territory. You're not only outside of the mainstream, but pretty far out of reason here.
I'm not out of reason. There's a reason why the divorce rate is super high, and families are falling apart, because we bought into this idea that the family should be single parents or same sex, and it doesn't work that way.
Nobody's saying they should be. Relationships should be only what the people who want the relationship to look like. Yeah, there's no notion that people ought to be single parents unless they want to be, or unless that's the situation that is working best for them, or if that's just the inevitability of their circumstances. You're coming in with all of these prescriptions about how the world ought to work. And not only do I not really like the model of the planet that you're trying to suggest and like foist onto us, but I don't see any reason for it. I don't see any good books. I don't see any scholarly studies. I don't see any data, any evidence, any real reason to take seriously the notion that people should be obligated to be in these heterosexual pairings. So rather than just keep going with more and more and more of this like 1950s style idea of what a family should be, can you give me any rationale, any reasoning Don't just loosely cite the notion of divorce statistics as if that somehow proves that the family is falling apart, whatever that means. We could tear that apart, that idea apart all afternoon. Tell me some reason why you think that we should go back to this way of thinking, even though that way of thinking has never been universal and is certainly not proven to be superior.
When a baby is born, he needs two forms of energy. He needs energy from his mother and his father to be balanced. A man needs to have energy from his father.
This is another claim, John, so I'm cutting you off. Can you show me any evidence of the fact that a baby needs, quote unquote, a divine masculine energy and a divine feminine energy, or whatever the hell? Like, is there any reason to believe? Is there any statistic that you can find for me? Is there any data that suggests that young boys who are born into two male households, or young boys who are born into households with two women, or a household with like two women and three men, is there any reason to believe why those are not sufficient or even perhaps superior to the model that you're suggesting? Any form of evidence?
Yes, myself. I was raised by a mother and father, and look how I turned out. I'm great. I don't break any laws. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a nice guy.
I'm going to let people pull that sound clip out themselves and do what they want with it, but I'm not going to take that as data. I'm glad that you are proud of the life that you're leading, and I'm glad that you seem to have come from a wonderful home. None of that is going to move the needle for myself or for our audience. Do you have anything with you today, since you called us prepared to bring your A game and to have this conversation? Do you have anything that any of the thousands of people who will watch this clip might listen to and change their minds because of?
Why do you think there are so many? Why do you think there are so many school shootings and police shootings and so many people in jail? Because there are no families, gentlemen, and there are no fathers. I guarantee if there were more fathers in the house, there'd be less problem in the world. And there'll be
okay. So
crime.
Guarantee, I'm calling you out on it. Can you show me statistics from maybe countries where they have fewer gun shootings and where they have less of that type of violence that indicate that there are more fathers in those homes? There are lots of countries on this planet. Many of them, most of them, have a lot less gun violence than the United States. What is the statistics around their acceptance of same-sex couples, for instance? Does that equate to what you're talking about? Or are we, as a shining beacon on a hill, as this Christian nation, doing better than everybody else when it comes to our gender politics, but not our gun violence? Like, again, you're not giving me any reason to believe what you're claiming.
If you go back to the 1950s, you'll see that there was a lot less violence and there were more families back then.
I don't think that you will see that. I do not believe that crime statistics bear that out, not when you really open them up and offer any sort of truly investigative lens. I'm not letting that fly, John. I'm sorry.
Society is not getting better. It's getting worse because of the destruction of family. I'm telling you that.
I don't believe that society is getting worse. Full stop.
It is getting worse.
How? Where? Show me evidence, please.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll give the evidence. There are more people in jail than ever happened before. There's more violence. We're teaching children how
there's not more violence. There's demonstrably less violence.
There is more violence. You see it every day. In New York, people are writing all.
Okay, well, John sees it every day, and he's a happy person because he grew up in a healthy household. If anybody listening is convinced by that, then turn from your sinful ways and praise the Lord. John, is there anything else that you want to say that might convince somebody else who's listening? Because I don't know that I'm ready to be convinced.
I have a few
Arvo,
questions.
maybe you have something. Yeah.
John, do you...
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's the thing, John. You, I think you keep giving us. There's two problems with the way you try to do reasoning. One, you give us anecdotes as evidence. So I just want you to understand there's a difference between when we ask for evidence, we're not asking for anecdotes. So you giving us examples. If you think examples prove anything, we have examples for almost everything. So every example that you give us as a way to prove your point, we could give you a counter example that, based on your standards, would contradict your point, right? So when we're asking for evidence, we need, data. And again, not any data that has been scientifically collected and also scientifically analyzed. And also that will still not be enough, because that data might show correlation, and correlation is not always causation. Do you understand when I tell you correlation is not causation? Do you understand what that means, or do you want me to explain it to you?
I'll explain it.
Okay, so just because two things go up at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean one is causing the other one. And just because two things are going down at the same time, that doesn't mean that one is also causing the other one, right? So for example, during when the weather gets hot, people consume more ice cream, and they also swim more, and they drown more often. But if you look at the data, you can see there's a correlation between ice cream consumption and people drowning. That doesn't necessarily mean that ice cream consumption is causing people to drown. So there is a correlation. Both of them are going up at the same time, but one is not causing the other one. So when you're saying like, oh, I saw this go up and I also saw this go up, so one is causing the other one, you haven't shown us that one is causing the other one just because they are both moving in the same direction. There needs to be analysis. This is why studying these things are complicated and difficult. This is why researchers try to isolate all these other factors to be able to find the causation, not just a correlation. Do you understand that point?
Yes.
Okay, great. So when you were giving us examples of telling us like, how do you explain this? This went up and this went up at the same time. Well, that doesn't show us that one is causing the other one. That's why your reasoning doesn't show us what you think it does. Do you understand that?
Well, 30% increase in U.S. murder rate between 2019 and 2020. That's a fact right there. You want to say?
Okay, let's say that's a fact. Let's assume that crime rates have gone up, right? And what's the other fact?
It's because there are less families in the house. There are less families in the U.S.
Well, okay. So what do you mean by less families? People who are, because if you're talking about single parent families, that's actually might be an issue. I will ask Christy about that because he has access to this data right now. But let's say comparing a family that has a father and a mother with a family that has two fathers, right? Do you think two fathers like in a house with the kids, is that as good as a father and a mother?
No, you need a father and a mother.
Okay, how do you know that? What's the data that? What's the data that would?
That's because it's been done for. That's the way. Ask any
sorry.
psychologist, and they'll tell you that. Ask any psychologist, and they'll tell you.
No. Sorry to interrupt, but no, that's just not true. There is no reason to believe that male-female pairings have been parents exclusively, or that this notion of the nuclear household is the fundamental building block of family and community within the human species. That's just not the way it's always been. It's really not the way it's been until fairly recently in our evolutionary history. It's certainly not the way that it is across the world. It's not the way that it is in every household. And there's just no reason to believe that it's somehow superior.
So I want to ask Chrissy something. I might be wrong about this, but I think there is evidence, maybe I'm wrong, if you've seen this, that having two parents is much better than having one parent for a child. Like
it is
maybe
broadly speaking, when we start to break it down.
I'm glad we agree. We agree then.
Yes.
Well, Armin was asking a question, and I'm trying to answer that question, whether or not it's accurate. From what I understand, when we do a complex factorial analysis and we start taking out things like household income and all of these other factors, we do still continue to see marginal benefits in a two-person household, which only makes sense. Kids need energy. Right. They need your time. They need your focus. They need your attention. And if you have two people to do that, that's a good thing. I am not opposed to the notion of two-parent households, but I'm also not opposed to the notion of a five-parent household, which we haven't really wrestled with.
Exactly, John. I think I have this belief. I might be wrong, Christy, correct me. If two is better than one, then three is better than two. And maybe four is better than three. So because if you have a family when the kids have three parents, maybe like three dads, that would be even superior than two parents, like a mom and a dad. Is that true? Could that be true, Christy? Like having maybe 3 is better than 2 for the kids?
I mean, the mortgage
Is
is
that
definitely easier to pay. I'll say that.
I mean, yeah. So I agree with you, John, that 2-parent families are better for the children than 1. So single parenthood seems to be really bad for the children based on the data I've seen. But when I say 2, I'm also saying 2 dads and 2 mothers, or a dad and a mother. That's where we disagree.
No, it's
but if you have
male and
data,
female, mother and father.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
might
you
even
don't have any
jump
data.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
go
I might just clarify
That's the
one
thing.
quick point, which is that we can say perhaps in aggregate that having 2 parents is generally a valuable factor, or might be in some small way correlated with different outcomes of well-being. But that's not to suggest that you could look at any individual family and be like, that couple has to stay together because kids need 2
Right.
parents. Over and over and over again, we can demonstrate that if a relationship is headed towards divorce, I'm not here to say that they should get divorced, but not getting divorced can be incredibly difficult and painful and harming to that child. So these statistical considerations that we're looking at and the benefits of possibly having a 2-person household are small, and they're very, very, very individualized. So one particular family might be better served for the parents to go get some counseling to figure their shit out and to make it work. But that is not going to be everybody's situation. And for all of the ridiculousness that you're kind of spewing, John, I don't want anybody listening to this call to walk away from it thinking that they have to stay with their partner forever because it's good for the kids. That is not universally true.
So if I understand what Christy is saying, I just want to make sure that everyone got it. On average, it might be true that 2 parents are better than 1 parent, but 2 toxic parents that are fighting with each other is not as good as 1 parent. So maybe many times 1 parent is better than 2 parents that are fighting with each other and don't have a good relationship. That's more harmful for the kids. So just because something on average is better, that doesn't mean that's the best thing for you. Sometimes divorce is the best thing you could do for the children.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Yeah.
No question. I mean, the statistics bear that out very, very thoroughly.
Right. So, John, we need data. You're coming here with claims, but we need. Actually, we don't need data. We need research, because sometimes people don't understand that they're not good at interpreting data. They go look at raw data and they just connect things with each other. This is why it's better to look at the conclusions at peer-reviewed academic research rather than trying to analyze the data yourself. And it's actually now easier than ever before. You could just, if you don't understand peer-reviewed academic research, you could copy and paste it in ChatGPT and it will explain it to you. Just write down, explain this to me like I'm 5. That's I've been doing that, and I've been going through a lot more research than I used to. So try that, John. Look at peer-reviewed academic research and go to the conclusion part and copy and paste it into ChatGPT and ask it to explain it to you. That's the best way to come up. Right now, I think that's one of the best ways.
No, that's actually a powerful tool.
Yeah. Okay. All right, John. We're gonna move on. Thank you for calling us.